Welcome to 3D movie cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Aquaman actually being a box office hit. I'm your host, 3D Jake.
3D what? Jake.
Oh no.
3D
no.
Jake.
Not Silent Night, Deadly Night 3! No!
Don't forget about our Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 review.
Here's my collaboration with Jacob Martin of Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Welcome to 3D movie cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from covering very bad movies and laughing at them while we watch. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3. Released in the 80s, because I didn't bother to look up fucking date, because no one gives a shit. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 was a movie that came out in the 80s, and is directed by Monty Hellman, and is written by Carlos Lonslow, Arthur Gorson, Monty Hellman again, and David Gaydens from Uncredited, because obviously I wouldn't want my name on that either. This piece of shit stars Richard Baymore, young Bill Moseley, Samantha Scully, and Eric Debris. I just want to say thank you so much to Jacob Martin.
Robert Culp, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 3, Better Watch Out.
Well, thank you, Jacob, for having me on your channel once again. Man, why are we still doing these? Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 3, you better watch out. There's like, what, 8 of these movies? The first one was bad. The second one was something else. But you can enjoy that on a so bad it's good level. But now we got the third movie, released in 1989, and oh my gosh, this was the worst one yet. This one was so bad, Jacob. You're not going to believe how bad this movie was, but you probably know, you've seen it already, you're reviewing it. How is this movie related to Silent Night, Deadly Night? Like, this movie lost me. The premise of this movie, you have this blind girl who is a psychic, and she is asked to connect her mind to that of the Santa killer who's in a coma since the first movie, and they're trying to make her connect to his past so they could confirm it that's the Santa killer. I'm like, why are we doing dream psychology in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3. This is, for one, that was a stupid idea. Even the Santa killer, he's hardly in this movie. He's not even wearing his Santa suit. Then again, the brother in 2 didn't either, but that was just something else. I just kind of enjoyed the weird, bat crazy antics of that guy's performance. But this one, I think they're trying to do this more of a connection to the first movie, where it's, oh, it's the Santa Claus killer from the first movie. But no, he's hardly in it. He's in a coma, and then he wakes up, and then he kills people, most of which are off screen. And like, the stories don't really mesh well, and the dream psychic blind girl story, like that, I didn't care for that. The lead actress I didn't think was that good. The acting in general was not really that good. Even the horror elements that could have made this fun, like the film was very the film was very tensionless. There was not much excitement to this movie. Like, I was so bored by this movie. Like, there were several times throughout this whole movie, like, since there was nothing exciting about it, like, I was this close to falling asleep watching this movie. It was that dull of a movie. At least the first movie, you had a semi-interesting idea. A guy dressing as Santa Claus as a serial killer. But I didn't like the execution of that. The second film tried to continue that with his brother, and it was like a really wackier can of worms. This one was just absolute trash. Like, I did not care for this movie one bit. There's hardly anything I would say is redeeming about it. And I can't say this is like the worst horror movie I've ever seen or anything, but this is easily among the most forgettable, definitely one of the more forgettable horror movies I've seen in a while. And the only reason I'm rating it this low is because a horror movie has to have something interesting to make it pop. This one had nothing to offer, and I just could not give the movie a decent rating because of that. It's not a good horror movie. Easily the worst film in the franchise so far because it's dull and lifeless. And at the end of the day, I'm only going to give this a 1 out of 5. This movie bored the crap out of me, and nothing exciting happened, and the acting was poor, and the stories don't mesh. Like, why would you do a dream psychic with a Santa killer? Like, this movie's dumb. Alright, thank you, Jacob, for having me on your channel. I guess we'll do the next one next year. It's kind of become a tradition on your channel to cover Silent Night, Deadly Night, and there's, what, 8 of these, 10 of these? I don't keep track anymore. But Jacob, hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, hope you have a good rest of the year. Hopefully we'll do something good, whether on your channel or my channel. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I know I've been dragging you along this journey, and you know what? It was my idea for the beginning. It was not him recommending. I know this the video makes it seem like, but I do want to say thank you so much, Jacob, for doing this for me. We reviewed 1 and 2, and as much as we loved 2, 1 was terrible, and then 2 is actually enjoyable if you don't watch the flashbacks. But as for this one, this movie is a piece of shit, and with a capital P. Okay, because this is terrible. Like, I remember watching this once as a kid, and I watched this again. I'm like, oh my god, this movie's terrible. Like, it was just boring more than anything. It felt like the poor man's Halloween. This movie is just bad. Like, I could sit there and watch anything else. There are other movies that I would rather watch than this. I would rather watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, because that's at least entertaining to watch. This one is just, like, boring as hell. And it's like, you have the main killer from the first movie, the first 2 movies, you know, Ricky, and he's basically just there. Like, they're trying to make him like Michael Myers, essentially. And I'm like, that's not the character. And also, he's got, like, a freaking brain head, like a brain, you know, thing. Like, he looks like Frankenstein. Trying to make him more like Frankenstein, where he's got, like, his brain, like, in a giant glass thing over his brain, like a little container. And it just, like, it's so stupid as well. And on top of that, you have a blind girl with psychic powers. The movie is essentially a sequel to the first 2, allegedly. And basically, this time Ricky is played by a young Bill Moseley, who I think is a great actor. I just think this was a terrible role for him to choose. And the movie essentially is about, of course, Ricky is locked up in a mental hospital, and then basically gets out of the mental hospital and goes on a killing spree again. Only this time, it's a much more poor man, where you're not rooting for Ricky, and this time you're just rooting for the movie den. I will say, I love Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. If you ever look on my social media page, on Christmas Day I always post Garbage Day, because, you know, and some people might not understand that, but, like, that's a Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 reference. I love that movie. I mean, I love it. It's so bad, but it's fun to watch. You know, and this one, I hated this movie. Like, this movie, I just watched it and I'm like, why do they even need to make this? Because it does nothing to do with the continuity of the first 2. At least the first one has somewhat of continuity. The second one just is like 80% of the movie is just recapping, and the rest of it is still a fun movie. Like, I always skip past the flashbacks and just watch like the part that are original, and like the Garbage Day is just so fun. You know, I mean, that's just such a great film. This one is not. I mean, the whole movie is about, my biggest issue with this movie compared to the other movie was, the first 2 movies, the protagonist is Ricky and his brother. Those are the protagonists in the first 2 movies, is the killer. This one, the protagonist is not the killer. The protagonist is the blind girl that's psychic. Which, I'm like, she's already blind. Do you really got to make her psychic as well? I mean, is that really necessary at this point? Like, and also her mother's, like, you know, like, her mother's psychic as well. You know, and I'm just like, really? Yeah, so basically, yeah, the whole protagonist is a blind girl. And also, like, Ricky looks dumb in this one, okay? Like, he's wearing, like, a freaking, like, you know, it looks like, if you ever watch Powerpuff Girls, he looks like Mojo Jojo. You know, or one of those, like, you know, like, Frankenstein movies where Frankenstein has his brain on the outside and his head's opened up. It looks just like that. I mean, it's just really dumb. And I'm just like, this is stupid. You know, and this movie also has lots of dirty jokes in the movie, and just out of nowhere, like especially like there's some that are very uncomfortable because there's a scene where this blind girl, she makes a dirty joke to her brother, like she's like talking about masturbation, and then she's like making a hand gesture with with a belt buckle, and I'm just like, it not only is this joke kind of messed up, you're also telling a joke to your brother and making a suggested lewd remark to him, which means that is kind of makes me uncomfortable and creepy. And on top of that, the brother has a girlfriend that looks just like the sister, which is also really creepy in a way and kind of concerning. And I'm like, I think you two are way, way, way more closer than we would like to be in the audience. And also, the movie has fucking flashbacks. The movie has a lot of bad flashbacks in this way. I don't know why. I feel like anytime they got a reference to the first movie, they're like, wait, we got a flashback, guys. Remember this movie where the guy gets his head chopped off in a sleigh? Remember that movie? Wouldn't you rather be watching that movie? I mean, this movie is so bad. I'm like sitting there watching this going, kill me, kill me, kill me. I'd rather be watching something else. I'd rather be watching the news. This is just like... Also, the flashbacks made me laugh because I'm like, at least the flashbacks were entertaining. I'd rather them just keep going to the garbage day scene. That'd be funny. You know? Also, like, there's a grandma. So basically, the kills in this movie are so toned down to where when you're watching this movie, I'm just like, okay, why are the kills so, like, toned down? Because, like, it feels like they even try to rip off, like, it feels like they try to rip off Halloween in a much shittier way. Because there's, like, there's a truck, and, like, a mechanic type truck, and basically the guy, he kills the guy off screen, really, and takes the truck, and I'm like, did they just rip off Halloween? I'm like, are you serious? They're ripping off good movies now. Like they're like, and there's like 4 writers on this movie. 4. Just like, did they all not figure out what movie this was? And they're like, all right, we don't know the plot. Let's just rip off Halloween. I mean, that's our best guess. And we'll steal some shit from the first 2. I mean, I'd rather just them continue the second one and Ricky go on a killing spree yelling garbage day for an hour rather than watch this piece of shit again. The kills are spare as well, because the kills, like, they really are just a joke. There's nothing to it originally. I mean, the only thing I can say is the girl that plays the lead, like, some of the lead characters, like the main cast, this brother and the sister feel like real people. Like, you feel like they actually care about each other. And you do, like, you know, the sister actually does. Like, how she plays the blind girl, I will say she did a good job. You know, like, the acting is not terrible in this movie from our protagonist. And I think Bill Murray tries the best he can in the movie. And the movie's not badly directed. It's just, like, the story's terrible. And, like, Bill Moseley makes some weird choices in this movie. And just, like, you know, and Richard Berman's character, it's just there because you have to have, like, an older figure that's got to stop Billy in a way. You know, it's almost like the poor man's Dr. Loomis, if you think about it. You know, and this movie is just like, I'm watching this movie, it's going, this is terrible, this is really terrible. Also, yeah, there's a grandma in the movie who's also psychic, and basically, Sheila knows that Ricky's coming up, but yet she doesn't know he's going to kill her. So I'm like, you have psychic powers, why don't you know that this man might kill you? So wouldn't it be better to be prepared? I'm like, you have psychic powers, you should know. This dude's a serial killer. And I'm just like, just stuff like that makes me like, okay, this is stupid. And yeah, I mean, just this movie is terrible. Like, I mean, I will say the acting is okay, and you know, there was like 1 or 2 kills that actually like some that one was off kill that made me like, okay, this is not bad. But then there's another kill that I was like, it was okay, but like, we didn't need that. I mean, this movie's not very good, and I really, really struggled to get through it, and I really hated this movie. The music is not bad either. Like, the movie, I would say the directing, the music, and because I mean, I gotta find 3 things but mostly this movie's terrible, and I would not recommend watching it. I would say just watch 2 and you're good, because it recaps the first movie, and you get a fun 30-minute story for that with Ricky. This one, I would just skip all entirely because it's terrible. If I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it an F. Thank you so much, Jacob, thank you so much for doing this collaboration with me. I'm sorry, buddy, it was this terrible movie. I promise the next collaboration will be a fun movie we both love. Until then, thank you so much. If you can,
even his life was of value.
With the saga that shocked a nation. Robert Culp. Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 3, Better Watch Out. Supported by full trade and consumer advertising. POP includes a full-size poster,